Hey, what's happening, YouTube? I am back for another deck profile. Today I'm doing a Plunder Patrol Adventure update for the new format, and I just want to go through this because if you've been around the channel lately, I have been into Runic Plunder lately, but I want to throw back to the typical adventure stuff, especially because the adventure stuff has become so cheap lately with the Megaton reprints and, Battles of Legend reprints and wherever else adventure stuff has been reprinted. So, yeah, this deck is really accessible, very cheap to play, and I think is really good quality for the price. So, I do want to give an update to this because I know there's a lot of Adventure Plunder players out there, and to those of you who are coming to my channel to check out my update, I appreciate you guys very much. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and talk through my main and extra deck choices, and then I'll just talk to some side deck choices. I don't have a side deck built for this particular deck, but it's pretty standard what you're playing in the side deck these days anyway. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into the main deck and extra deck. So I have a 40 card main here, and it's not going to look that much different from Adventure Plunder lists of the past, but I do want to just talk through what I think should be played nowadays and what the non-engine is that's best for the format. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 3 copies of Whitebeard, 3 copies of Golden Hair. We want 6 copies of the tuners because we really want to see a tuner to get into our Jord plays, especially when going first. We want to make sure we have that. In a pure Plunder list, Black Eyes is phenomenal. You have to play 3 of this in my opinion. I think these are the best ones. Well, I guess Bluebeard is also a very good one because if you know your 2-card Plunder combos, usually a tuner plus any extender is going to be your full combo. So you do need to see access to one of these tuners plus some kind of non-tuner extender. And because Redbeard doesn't really fit in with that, it's neither a tuner nor an extender. We're only going to be playing 2 of it. It's kind of less important to see that in the opening hand, and therefore it's okay to kind of cut down on that. It's possible to cut down to 1, but I kind of like having 2 for a grind game, and it's your go-to target to summon off of Whitebeard on your opponent's turn. So if you were to discard Whitebeard for some of your ship effects, you're going to want to summon out something that does something on your opponent's turn as some kind of interruption, and Redbeard is really your only option because Redbeard can tag out into a ship. So that's why we want to play 2 Redbeard, just to make sure we have 1 in deck for Whitebeard effect on our opponent's turn. And just generally, more names is better because you need so much ammo for your ships. Speaking of names, onto the spell cards, we have 3 copies of Shipyard in a pure build. Gotta play 3 Shipyard. It makes your monsters huge, and their names to search off of Moark. If you have extra copies of the field spell, it's okay. You can discard them as ship ammo, and that's totally fine. Alongside that, we're going to play 1 Terraforming just to make sure we see this card. And then for the last Speller Trap, I'm playing 1 copy of Emblem. If you like Plunder Patrol Booty, you go ahead and play that, but I'm a Emblem fan. I think it's underrated, and I prefer this to seeing Booty most of the time because it's live both first and second as an extender, as a name, and yeah, I think Booty is pretty dead when you're going second, and I just don't want to play any of that. So yeah, that's why I prefer Emblem. It's up to you. It's your deck. You go ahead and build it how you want, but this is what I will be playing. Onto the adventure package. It's the standard package in my opinion. 3 copies of Enchantress and 1 Griffin for the monsters. You want 3 Enchantress just to be able to discard it off of your several discard outlets to kind of combo with your Plunder stuff. And although we're playing 3 Enchantress, we're only playing 2 right. I think 2 is fine. I don't want to brick. I don't want to see 2 copies like Enchantress plus right. I don't really want to see that at all. And Enchantress can add back right from the graveyard. So if you burn through both rights, your Enchantresses are not necessarily dead. You can add the right back from grave. So keep that in mind. Plus, if you open both right and Enchantress, you can at least summon the Enchantress as an extender. So I'd rather open 2 Enchantress instead of 2 right, and therefore I think 3 and 2 is the correct ratio. And then we have Fateful and Draco back as the rest of our package. So I think this package is pretty strong right now, to be honest. Nobody's playing Ogre whatsoever. A lot of people are playing Nib, so that really deals with that issue. People are not really playing Dark Ruler, so you're not going to lose on your Griffin Rider necessarily. I think it's a great engine to play, and especially in this deck where it doesn't conflict with Ride at all. None of your monsters do anything on normal summon. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Adventure Plunder right now, and I think it's a solid meta call. Alright, on to the non-engine. So we have, it's a 40-card deck, and I think this is something like 28 cards. So we have like 12 cards of non-engine, and I'm going to start off with 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. I think it's excellent, and I don't see any reason not to play it. And then 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. I really love Droplet in this deck. It synergizes so well with both Plunder and Adventure. You always have extra cards to send for Droplet cost. You know, if you have a Fateful on board that you don't really need anymore, get rid of that. If you have an equipped Plunder that you don't really need anymore, get rid of that. You can always get rid of your field spell, and then because it can set itself back next turn. You just have a lot of synergy with Forbidden Droplet in the Plunder Patrol deck, and I think it's a great addition, especially with a Rise Heart gone. There's no issue with not being able to send stuff to the graveyard other than Dimension Shifter. Onto the hand traps, it's a little bit minimal as far as Plunder Patrol goes. 3 copies of Ash and 3 copies of Nibiru. I do like Nib. I think it's solid. I think it hits a lot of decks that are kind of just issues if you don't have any hand traps or anything going on like that. And you can always discard it if it's dead with like Bluebeard or Shipyard. You can also play DD Crow. DD Crow is also a solid choice right now. So I think this is the most flexible part of the non-engine lineup is the 3 Nib. I think you can play whatever 3 hand traps you want, but I think Nibiru is quality. I think DD Crow is also quality, and it's kind of up to you on what you want to do with that. All right, so I have 2 cards left to make my final 40. These final 2 slots are my personal tech choice, and this is kind of the spice of the deck. If you want to play conservative, just play 2 copies of Kashtira Fenrir. But if you want to spice it up, what I'm playing is 1 copy of Medora and 1 copy of Keldo. These are the 2 Ishizu Shufflers, and I'm playing these because it's an extra interruption that comes from the graveyard, and you have so many discard outlets and not so many cards you want to be discarding. And I think just having these in is a extra spice that will catch people off guard. So if we look at our discard outlets, we have 3 Golden Hairs, 3 Bluebeards, 3 Field Spell plus 1 Terraforming. That's 10 total. Then we have, to get to Fateful Adventure, which needs to discard, we have Enchantress, 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 Right, and Fateful itself. So that's 16 cards in your deck. Oh, plus 3 Forbidden Droplet. You have 19 cards that are fine with discarding the Shufflers, and I think these Shufflers are just so good in this meta right now, and people don't really see it coming. And what's really nice, for those niche scenarios, you're playing against Tier Limit, you have to go second, and they start milling your stuff with the Guido and Kelbeck. If they mill one of your Shufflers, you can actually like have a decent chance at winning that game. So I really like the 2 Shufflers in this particular build. You have so many discard outlets, as we've said already, that I think that just the extra utility out of this is really nice. You're not really going to have any other use for this, like, unless you open both of them and can summon the Medora. Like, yeah, these are kind of bricks otherwise. But just because you have so many ways to get them into the graveyard, I don't think they're brick enough not to play. So I really like these as my tech choices to round out my full 40 in Adventure Plunder for this format. Okay, so I'm going to scoop these up as the main deck, 40 cards, as I've said, and we will go ahead and get into the extra deck now, which is kind of standard, but you know, there's a couple changes since last time I've built the deck. So onto the extra, we have 3 copies of Blackbeard, 2 copies of Liss, 2 copies of Mowerk, 2 copies of Bran, and 1 Jord. So in the past, I've played 2 Jord. I think after playing this deck a while, I've never gone into 2, especially because it puts itself back in the extra, so you can always have one there, basically. I still like 2 Bran. It's like a cuttable one to go down to a 1 of, but in a pure deck, I like Bran's ability to just buff all of your guys up and you know, be able to swing for game more reliably. Plus, everyone is on Ash, so you'll always have something to go into with Blackbeard, basically, if you have a Bran in deck. And I don't know, I just think it's quality. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards in the extra devoted to the Plunder Patrol spots, and then that leaves 5 spots for tech choices. So 1 copy of Almirage just for the 1 card Golden Hair combo. I hate to do it, but you know, I think it comes up sufficiently enough where I think it's worth playing the Almirage. So I'm still going to play the Almirage. 1 copy of Zeus. This one, because we're playing talents, I think you play Zeus. Like, I think it's just relevant. You can talents take a Pearly monster, overlay a Zeus. It's kind of nice. You're usually not locked into stuff before you can go into the Zeus, and then you can go into your Plunder plays after. Or you can simply attack with Moark, overlay a Zeus, and just like have a bigger body if your Moark is kind of dead. So I think the Zeus is worth playing. And then I have 3 Synchro monsters remaining. 2 are level 8, so we have 1 copy of Dragite and 1 copy of White Aura Whale. So I think these are the best 2 level 8 synchros for this particular deck to go into. Both of them require water stuff to work. And I just think the utility of White Aura going second is fantastic. Utility of Dragite going first is fantastic, especially when you know you're going against some kind of back row deck, or even going into like Infernoble Knight. Just making a Dragite is kind of clutch because they just play so many spells and traps. That it's really useful. So I think having the Dragite is really nice. The Whale is really nice. And then the last card is 1 copy of Psychic End Punisher, which is now, thanks to the Megatins, very cheap. This is a level 11 Synchro, which we are going to make using 1 copy of Griffin Rider and 1 copy of Whitebeard. So, well, I don't know where it is. It's shuffled in somewhere. Here's the Griffin Rider, and then a Golden or a Whitebeard. And if you decide not to play the copies of the Ishizu Shufflers and you want to play Kashtira Fenrir's instead, it's also Fenrir plus 1 of the level 4 tuners. And sometimes this card just ends games. Like, people cannot out this card unaffected by your opponent's card effects when your life points are lower. So it can come up, and I think it's just a nice utility to have. 35-35 is huge and can out a lot of weird stuff. So yeah, it's just a nice tech, and it's cheap. I can afford one finally, so I'm going to put it in. So yeah, that rounds out the extra deck to 15 cards. For the side deck, Bestials, Dimensional Barrier, other hand traps, yeah, Kaijus. I do like Kaijus. People like to play Kaiju Plunder Patrol, and that's great, but I don't really like it in the main deck enough to play it. So I think Kaijus in the side is going to be fantastic. 3 copies of Kaiju Slumber plus 4 different Kaiju names, I think, is the correct package. So yeah, I think it's quality, and I think that will take up, what, 7 slots in your side, 3 or 4 slots for Bestials, 3 slots for D-Barrier, and maybe Rivalry of Warlords can also go in, but I don't know how good that is this current format. So yeah, I don't know. It's an option. I think Rivalry is decent going first because you can set up Jord, give your opponent a token, but it's a Fiend token. It's only good against a couple decks, but against like Unchained, the Rivalry is not going to do anything with a Fiend token. Against Labyrinth, they don't care, so I don't know. This particular meta, Rivalry is kind of meh, and I would just stick with the D-Barriers and hand trap options in the side. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this deck profile. I'll talk to you guys later. I'll read your comments and get to whatever I can if you have any questions. And if you're enjoying the channel, feel free to subscribe to support me, like the video, consider becoming a member of the channel. I just got my 2nd channel member, so shout out to my 2 channel members, which are Dex Out for Harambe and the Omniform. So yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you later. Bye.